Hello there. Here I review movies and today's film is Abigail. It's a horror film about a team of 6 criminals kidnapping the daughter of a wealthy businessman for ransom money. They take her back to their safe house and there they discover that Abigail is no ordinary girl. Stephen Shields and Guy Busick wrote the story and adapted it into a screenplay, and Matt Bettinelli opened and Tyler Gillette directed the film. Melissa Barrera stars as Joey, Dan Stephen appears as Frank, and Alicia Weir plays the title character Abigail. Abigail as a film is your standard single-location horror. It's got a big old mansion for its small cast to run around in and a spooky monster to chase them and kill them off one by one. They don't delve too deep into the backstory and instead spend most of their time focusing on the survival of the 6 criminals. For positives, this film has a solid story, a decent cast, a good visual journey, and some okay music. Starting with the story, it's clean, simple, and does everything you want it to do. It's got bloody, disgusting kills, lots of well-executed jump scares, and a few action horror moments. The characters aren't very deep, but they serve their purpose well. There's a few characters to root for, a few you want to see die, and the villain is a terrifying little girl who does pirouettes while chasing down grown men. It's a lot of fun, and they don't waste any time on excessive elements. It's just explaining the story, throwing in a few jokes, and then straight to the horror. The cast does a good job of their performances too. There's a ragtag group of protagonists for you to follow along with, each coming complete with their own stereotype to play out. There's 2 strong men, one funny and one serious, a hacker girl, a junkie driver, a mysterious girl, and the snarky asshole. They're not doing Shakespeare, but they make their characters charismatic, pull their lines off well, and each of them gets to do some fun moments and big reactions. The visual journey is probably the best part of the film. It takes place in a dark and spooky mansion, and they did a fantastic job with the camera work. It looks clean, there are lots of complex angles, and they did a good job of making the house look haunted. It's dilapidated, covered in dust and cobwebs, and dingy as hell. Alongside the great location, they had a bunch of fun kills that employed B-level gore. Blood spraying everywhere, bodies exploding, and lots of fake, over-the-top injuries. They also had the villain doing ballet as they ran down the protagonists, and it made for some of the funniest scenes. Like there's one scene of Kevin Durant screaming at the top of his lungs while he runs down this hall, and she appears behind him doing these slow dance moves. It's hilarious. For music, they had a mixture of classical songs and about 3 rap beats. The rap beats all created nice little flavor moments for the characters and were fairly spread apart. The classical songs were used to back the emotional journey and do a good job of injecting a lot of eerie vibes into the atmosphere. It makes the mansion sound like a haunted place with that out-of-time feel. Despite all of the film's positives, it does have some negatives too. The story, for example, feels overly contrived at times. The villain will just let the protagonists go randomly, and they use the same old tired excuse every time. It's also a little bit predictable. The way it plays out, you can kind of tell what's coming next, and it takes some of the sting out of the punch. The cast also doesn't get many opportunities to really stand out or flesh out their characters. They spend most of their time reacting to the monster or dealing with the immediate story, and very little time just getting to know them. There aren't any big emotions other than fear because of it, and it leads to the characters feeling very generic and forgettable. The music is the same way. They use the classical style music over and over again, and while it does a good job of making the house feel spooky and following the rise and fall of tension, it doesn't stand out. It's just the same flavor for an hour and 50 minutes. The only breaks you get from that taste are the 3 rap songs, and the little bits of silence where they rely on ambient noise. Overall, I enjoyed Abigail. It was a light horror film that took a neat twist in the second half. I laughed a lot, thought the kills were fairly well done, and really enjoyed the overall atmosphere of the film. If you like simple horror films, this one will entertain. As for a rating, I'd give this film a 7 out of 10. Remember, these are just my thoughts on the film. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Bye-bye.